Joining me now is Daily Express Royal reporter Pandora Forsyth and commentator Samara Gill. Samara, Trooping the Colour, well, it is always such a stunning event, but what were the highlights for you this year?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Caroline, it is all about pomp and ceremony, and the Brits do it the best. I mean, it was really a trooping of the colour with a conscience this year. We had all that classic pageantry that you can see on the screen there, the balcony wave, a lot of deliberate choices, though, this year that really spoke volumes. There were black armbands that were worn by the King and senior royals, which was a real gesture to the victims of the Air India crash. There was the Coldstream Guards that had new colours, and Charles's address to the people, the King's speech, was really well done, gentle, and it had a touch of dry wit, as it always does with that man. And then we had the red arrows flying past, and it was eco-friendly fuel that was used, which is just classic Charles. So you really saw this sense of tradition, but with Charles's sort of new wave royalism weaved in with everything. It was really a fabulous time, and I think I had a bit too much fun. I got a bit sunburnt yesterday.
Love that. Pandora, last year, Trooping the Colour, well, we saw the Princess of Wales at a public engagement. I think it was for the first time in about 6 months. It was all a bit of a very wobbly period for the royal family last year, but 12 months on, she looks radiant. The kids have grown up so much. You were reporting from Trooping the Colour yesterday. How does the royal family of yesterday compare to a year ago, and what was the reaction?
Well, I think yesterday was all about the King, whereas last year, unfortunately for the Princess of Wales, so much was about seeing her for the first time and her first public engagement since we knew her battle with cancer was ongoing, which obviously now she has recovered from. So it was a totally different feel this year because it wasn't so many eyes upon her, because everyone wanted to see if she was okay, because the public care about her. Yesterday, I was very close when the open carriages were coming down. And I have to say, they genuinely look very happy to be there. And the children look so comfortable, waving to the crowds, actually enjoying the experience. Whereas I can imagine it's very anxiety inducing last year because she knew so many eyes would be on her. But it actually gave her a time to celebrate the military, to celebrate her father-in-law and the King. I mean, it's his third Trooping the Colour as King. His first Trooping the Colour was when he was 3 years old in 1951. But it's mad, really, because actually it's only his third. So for him, it's quite a new experience in a way, because he is heading up the army, heading up the monarchy. So it was a really special time for him. And it was done in his own way, the things that he wanted to shine a light upon, such as the Air India crash, and of course the sustainability, which links back to all of his environmental pushing with the fly past yesterday. So it was a great day.
And Pandora, obviously no surprises that Harry and Meghan didn't attend or weren't invited to Trooping the Colour. But given the relations and where they're at, I mean, that's pretty expected, isn't it?
Yeah, very much expected at this point, to be honest, Caro. Look, Harry and Meghan have chosen their path. And I think with everything that has been happening, which we've spoken about before, with Prince Harry's latest court ruling, I think more than ever, due to that, they will not be seen at these type of events. They are not working royals. And we know Charles wants a slimmed down monarchy. They made it quite clear that they did not want to work under the King in that kind of capacity anymore, which, you know, has caused various debates over the last few years, but that's why they're not there ultimately. And the King didn't want to make it all about them yesterday. It was his day. And actually, more than anything, the King wanted to shine a light on the military and show them off. And that's exactly what he did. Yesterday wasn't about Harry and Meghan. And quite frankly, that's the life that they chose. And that is a consequence of what they have chosen to give up. And that is days such as like yesterday, which is very public facing. And they are going to be on the front papers of every single newspaper practically around the world. And they chose to give that up. So be it.
I think that's fair, Pandora. In previous years, there's been a lot more talk about Harry and Meghan in the lead up to Trooping the Colour. I mean, this year there was the mention, but really not much else. Do you think that there is now a topic that has largely passed?
Yeah, I think people have just got fatigue, if I'm completely honest. And I think people are used to Harry and Meghan now not coming to these events. It's now the norm instead of the exception. And because they've got so many independent avenues of which they're pushing their career on the other side of the world, which they're such as their podcasts, their books. I think people are used to reading them from that perspective now instead of seeing them as part of the royal family, to be quite frank. I don't think it's that much of a bigger story anymore. I think that's just what we expect of Harry and Meghan. They are just doing their own thing, whether you like it or not. That is what they're doing. And if you are a follower of the royal family, I think that's what you would expect, to be honest now. It's just not that much of a bigger story anymore from a media perspective.
Yeah, I think you might be right. And Samara, on to an event at St James Palace this week. Some great photos. The King celebrating the 35th anniversary of his charitable foundation. Who was there and what was the theme of this celebration?
I mean, it was the Windsor take on the Oscars, really. It was really fabulous and really dramatic this year. I mean, we had the newly knighted David Beckham, we had Kate Winslet, we had Meryl Streep, all of them standing shoulder to shoulder. Some great photos that came out, and you can just tell that they're having a real ball. I mean, it was really, though, a celebration of the craftsmanship, the sustainability, and the long-term impact of Charles's work. And, you know, he's always been mocked for hugging trees and talking to plants, but really you can see the culmination of his life's work coming together and sort of being able to be celebrated now that he's got something to stand behind. So it was really a fabulous event. And it was interesting to see Beckham there. I mean, is he going to be the new sort of ambassador? If anything, it was good optics, and Charles knows it.
I think so, and they did absolutely look like they were having a fabulous time. On to something a little more serious, Pandora, and we spoke about it a little earlier in the panel, but tragic event in India last week with the crashing of that passenger jet bound for London. Now, the King offered his condolences, saying in a statement, "My wife and I have been desperately shocked by the terrible events in Ahmedabad this morning. Our special prayers and deepest possible sympathy are with the families and friends of those who are affected by this appallingly tragic incident across so many nations as they await news of their loved ones. I would like to pay a particular tribute to the heroic efforts of emergency services and all of those providing help and support at this heartbreaking and traumatic time." Pandora, what do you make of his reaction? Obviously, a very close relationship with India.
Yeah, very much so. Charles has got an extremely special relationship with India. We know he absolutely loves going there. He's had 10 official engagements over the years. His last visit there, I think, was 2019, so actually quite relatively recent. He absolutely loves throwing himself within the culture there and learning about everything which is happening within their communities. And that is personally, that's not even just on a monarchy front. He absolutely loves India and everything that they have to offer. So this actually did hit Charles and Camilla quite strongly this week. I think it shocked the world. It was a horrific accident. 241 people sadly lost their lives. And I've been reading about all of the tragic stories. There was a man in London who was working in a hospital for 7 years to save up for his family to come across. And he was picking up his family from India, and all of that family tragically passed on that flight. There are so many individual stories which are going around which you don't have time to go into today. But I think the sentiment of Charles sort of saying this publicly and signing it off with Charles is very much a personal indicator. He doesn't always sign it off like that. And you know, when he signs it off like that, that is an indication that is meant particularly from the heart. But yesterday we had an immediate change to the roster, as it were, of Trooping the Colour, and that was quite a last-minute change. And that was that working members of the royal family who are part of the military, who represent the military, do wear black armbands. We saw Charles wearing one yesterday, and that was an indication to paying respects and the tributes to the Air India crash victims. And there was also a minute's silence. And I think he was very much looking to his late mother for guidance on this, and what she used to do in the past. When there was the Grenfell tragedy within London, she also held a minute's silence at Trooping the Colour. And I think with so many of these events, he will look back and think, what would my late mother do in instances like this? And I think yesterday was a perfect example of seeing what she had done in the past and thinking, right, okay, well, I'm going to do this instead. It's also something he didn't actually have to do. I don't think many people would have blamed him if he didn't, but it was a really lovely and sentimental touch that he did do that yesterday. And it was right that he did.
A very gracious tribute. I agree.